We have quite a few of our staff here. This is Shelley, she's doing our marketing. We've got Tony. Tony is really hard to find in the crowd. Hey. Oh, there he is, there, yeah. I wasn't going to do short jokes.
Well, you just did.
Tony's our sales manager. We have Eamon, we have Ian, and we've got a couple of the reps here, Jaden, a few of the others. So we're going to hang around a little bit later on. So if you've got any questions, I just wanted to quickly go through a bit of the evolution of what's happened in solar panels. Now, who's got the 40-cent feed-in tariff here? There's quite a few of you that's got the 40-cent feed-in tariff in 2009, 2010. This was the most popular solar panel on the market. These were 190 monocrystalline solar panels. So now a 6 kilowatt system in this would take about 34 of these, and it would cost about $20,000. Yeah. So back in the day. So that's why most of us got the 1.5 or 2.5 or 3 kilowatt systems, and those systems make, have been adequate, but perhaps not as much feed in that we would like. Now these panels have been remarkably reliable. The panels are likely to be still pretty good. The inverter probably isn't in those systems at 10 years old, because a lot of the companies that sold these panels used the cheap inverters, the Chinese inverters, to keep the price down because everything was so expensive in those days. 2012, 2014, we went to a polycrystalline panel in a 240 watt, 250 watt panel. And so they were still around until 2018, when they went from 240 watts up to about 275 watts. And so there wasn't much increase in power, and they stayed the same size, 275 watts. And in 2018, there was a big jump. We went from 275 to a 315 watt panel. And what they did was they split the cells and were somehow able to get more power out of it. So they're a 315 watt panel. And since then, over the last few years, the panels have actually slowly got a little bit bigger. You can see here, this one here is a 350 watt panel, and it's slightly taller, and now we've gone to a 370 watt panel, and that's slightly taller again. So sort of like 1.8 metres is high, or 1.84 they are. So a 6 foot by a metre wide panel. So now we only need 18 of these to make a 6.6 kilowatt system. And the prices come down from $20,000 in 2010 to about $6,000 or $7,000, even less, in 2020. So that's where the sort of the evolution has happened. So I don't know where it's going to finish, but I do know that the price of inverters has actually started to rise. Our install costs have started to rise. The aluminium that we use to fix the panels to the roof is rising, but the panel price seems to continue to drop. So there's about there's probably 100 brands available in Australia. In the popular brands, there's a dozen. They're mainly all Chinese. There's some Korean. The LG is a Korean brand. The RECs that we sell a bit of, they're a Singapore brand, but generally speaking, the top solar companies are Chinese, which I guess is a little unfortunate these days. We don't have that many choices, with the other companies. The Chinese, the German companies have either gone broke or they've been bought by the Chinese. Plenty of stock, plenty of supply. The Chinese are happy to sell stuff to us. No worry.
How close is the LG, the Korean one, for price and serviceability?
Yeah, so the LG have got a panel at this size that does a 360 watt. So they're higher efficiency panels. You can get a sun power in this size that does 400 watts. So, but they're double the price per watt. In that 6.6 kilowatts, where we can do something in this sort of style panel for about $5,000, it's kind of 10 grand in an LG, or around that. Where we do sell those because those two brands, the LG and the SunPower, and the REC have a full 25-year warranty, where most of the other companies have a 10 or 12-year product warranty and a 25-year performance warranty. So anyway, what this today's about is about the 40-cent feed-in tariff. And so what you do when that 40-cent feed-in tariff runs out, and I guess the whole, my dad is 88 years young, and he got a letter from Synergy saying his 40-cent feed-in tariff. Right? And he sort of, and a lot of us did get that letter, and a lot of people said, well, what am I going to do? Dad said, what am I going to do now? I've got this, my 40-cent feed-in tariff. I'm going to have to pay for power. We've sort of narrowed it down to 4 options. And the option number 1 is to do nothing. And to try and shift your power usage to maximise your savings. So when you've got that 40-cent feed-in tariff, you don't want to use your power during the day. You want to try and get all the power you can going back to the grid. When you lose that 40 cents and you're only getting 7 cents for it, you're much better off to try and use your power during the day. So it is instead of turning the washing machine on night and using your power in the evening, now with the 7 cent feed-in, you want to use it during the day. So it's sort of like a level playing field for everybody now. It sort of eliminates the arguments at the barbecue, because when someone's got the 40 cents and someone hasn't, the company told me that I had to use my power during the day. Well, the company told me I had to use it at night. But one of them's got the 40 cents and one of them's just got the 7 cents. Even so, no matter what you do, you'll still will expect your bills to rise if you don't do anything and just leave the system the way it is. And I'd encourage you to, if you are going to do that, is to get that system checked. The next option is to sort of look at that system and say, okay, well, can I add to it? And most of the time, it's very difficult to add to an old system, because we may be able to add some more panels to it. Unfortunately, those inverters, the inverter 10 years ago has probably fallen off the list. So unless it's on the list, the CEC list, we won't be able to claim the extra rebate. If you've got 2.5, we put another 2.5 in. If you got a 1.5, we can put a 3.5 in to give you a maximum of 5 kilowatts. You'll still get your 7 cent feed-in tariff, and you'll be making lots more power. You've got to have a space on the roof. So that's why everyone's going to be different, and every application, every house will have to look at case by case to check that everything's standards. We can just replace the inverter 1 for 1 without touching the rest of it, but as soon as we start putting panels on, adding to it, we have to really rewire the whole thing. So once we start rewiring the whole thing, I don't know if you know how much electricians earn. They're expensive, and especially if you get one to pick up a shovel, it's very expensive. And the other option is that we pull your old system off and we put a brand new system on. It's not necessarily the most environmentally friendly way of doing it. It's not recycling, but it is generally the most cost-effective thing to do, to remove your old system and to put a new system on. Now, what we do with the old panels is we collect them we send them to the Philippines, and we use them for a project that they're doing over there called upwelling. And so what they're doing is they're growing seaweed. And the water in the Philippines is too hot to grow seaweed, too hot to grow it at any speed. And so they suck the cool, nutrient-rich water from 300 metres down up into these seaweed beds. And that means the seaweed grows about 10 times faster than it would normally grow. They use the seaweed, it's a luminous material. They use it in cosmetics, they use it in highlighter pens, they use it in all sorts of stuff. I don't think they use it in fuel, I don't think they've got enough of it, but they use it as a an additive for the cosmetic industry and a whole lot of other applications.
Can you reuse those panels on another house here in Perth and put the system that you had on your house on another house?
You can't really, and the reason why is because these panels now have fallen off the list, fallen off the Clean Energy Council list, and we can't get approval for them to go on another house.
But you can use the inverter.
Well, the same with the inverter. Generally, the inverter would have fallen off the list as well. If it hasn't, one of the stipulations to claim the rebate is that the product is new and it's on the list. And then we can claim the rebate. Now, the rebate at the moment is sitting at about $3,500, $3,600 for a 6.6 kilowatt system.
Now, each year until 2030, that will reduce by about 10%. So it's still a fair bit of money, and if you add that $3,600 to the cost, even if you've got free panels and free inverter, it still kind of works out about the same to put a brand new system on, which is unfortunate. Yeah. Remove your old system, put a new system on. We recycle the old panels, send them off for a use in another country, and that's probably one of the most cost-effective ways to get a system big enough to run your house and to charge the battery. So then there's the battery. And we're selling lots of the Tesla batteries. We're selling the Scenic batteries. We're not selling many or any. We have dabbled in a couple of the Chinese batteries. But what we've found with the batteries is it's not the battery, it's not the inverter, it's not the solar panels or the installation, it's actually the software. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you've done any research on electric cars. With electric cars, it's all about the software. It's all about how well the software works, how efficient that algorithm is, and how it all works is very important with, and that's why the Tesla has been really a rock solid, because they're very good with their software. They know how to program, they know how to do the algorithm, and the Tesla battery actually learns the way you use your battery, and it'll save power for when you need it. The price hasn't actually come down, unfortunately. It's gone up. They've gone up from about $13,000 to about $14,500, and that's fully installed. It can be a little bit cheaper on single phase and a little bit dearer on three phase, depending on where the batteries are, where your board is. There's quite a lot of restrictions on where we can actually place the battery, so you can all think about in your place where you could put the battery, but the battery needs to be on a wall that the other side of that wall is not a habitable room. It's got to be on a wall where you can't run into it, or it's very difficult to run into it in your car. Often the side of the garage on the parapet wall of your home, and your next door neighbour has their garage next to yours, is a good spot. In between the pillars is a good spot in the garage. They can go outside, but you don't want them in the sun. So you want to try and keep it as cool as possible. Get going. Really appreciate you coming out. Big crowd today.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.